Awesome. So I'm Jake Douglas. I'm at Sandia National Labs, and I'll be emceeing the next session here. And so to kick things off, I want to bring up Alex Greenberg. He's the Economic Development Advisor to the Governor, and he'll be introducing our next keynote.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for coming out this morning. My name is Alex Greenberg. I'm the Economic Development Advisor for the Governor, which is an extremely exciting position. So I just want to do a couple remarks and then introduce our keynote here. But I was asking myself this morning, how do you realize a thriving ecosystem that can create the world-changing innovation I think that we all want to see? I think about it as the golden triangle, that there's three sides. First is world-class research institutions like UNM, Los Alamos, and Sandia. Obviously, Jake Douglas, Ivan Deutsch, and Mike Rabin are great exemplars of those institutions. Strong private sector leadership, which we could see all across this room. Zachary Ashami, Corbin Tillman-Dick, Scott Davis, Wally Lawal, the entrepreneurs who are going to help us realize this quantum future. And then maybe the most importantly, forward-thinking state and federal leadership. So Representative Dixon's here, Secretary Rodriguez, John Clark, our Chief Investment Officer of the Sovereign Wealth Fund, who are here to make sure that we have the right incentives, workforce, and customers in place, as well as the right regulatory environment to be successful. And then speaking of visionary public sector leadership, I'm pleased to introduce someone to who I owe an enormous debt of gratitude for enabling the state and our cabinet agencies to help support such an exciting opportunity and the singular opportunity that building the quantum economy in New Mexico represents. Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham.
Oh, that's very nice. Good morning, everyone. Well, we know that I won't be able to read that because it's too tall. I believe in 2019, at my inaugural address, I commanded that all of the lecterns and podiums be shorter, and not anyone, anywhere in New Mexico did it. So thank you for letting me tease you. So I'm going to do this, and I typically do that anyway. I have incredibly smart, brilliant, talented, very dedicated folks who work hard to educate their governor on any number of things that I'm going to have limited expertise in. I'm a pretend engineer. I don't do physics. And while I can still do math, I go out of my way not to. Except actually during COVID, math became my best friend, and I realized I could do math better than anyone in the cabinet, and that's before we had Alex. So Nora's got PTSD from that whole set of environments. So what I want to do today is really three things, is to recognize each and every one of you in the room, because the University of New Mexico and all of our partners were engaged in talking about quantum computing as early as it was occurring in a group strategic fashion in the country. Two, companies that you will hear from like Elevate, and there are others, didn't wait for any of the federal funding or the tech hub. They've been doing the work, recognizing if they don't help us build it and do the things that New Mexico is known for, then we're not going to get those awards. And what happened? We're one of those tech hub awards. And while there were many tech hub awards, there was only one quantum award. I know this is all stuff that you know. Yes, clap for that, because typically, I like to highlight that New Mexico is so much better than Colorado, and that's just starting with chili. But here's something, why that governor continues to tell me that Pueblo chili is better than all of the New Mexico chili. I can't even look at him seriously anymore, because he's just wrong. And his own state said, you're just wrong. But governors are supposed to actually, and to his credit, promote and highlight their state. So I'm actually going to do a Governor Polis statement. And I think Governor Polis is a very effective leader. And that is, New Mexicans have a tendency not to self-identify our talent. Let me just repeat that. We're small. It's harder here. In fact, this was a famous political statement that we should all, after I say it this once, we are never saying it again. It must end any relevancy. If it works anywhere, it can't work in New Mexico. It's the opposite. We prove that it works here over and over and again. We're the leaders of technology. We're the leaders of every important, significant, starting with the Manhattan Project and the clean room and semiconductors. If it's important and it is transformational and it leads the globe, it starts here. It has always started here. Thank you. And we do not embrace that. Well, maybe third time. In fact, we're just going to make an affirmation. The third time is the charm. New Mexico will be forever known as the state in the third wave of critical technology that not only maintains national security in this race, and make sure that our foes abroad, including China and Russia, don't get there first. But it will create the next set of innovations that rural states need more than other states. Education, healthcare, any number of other social service nexus is gonna be transformed because of quantum computing. Fact. And we can do it better, we can do it faster, and we can lead a technology revolution. We did it already. Everyone sitting right there with your laptops and your phones, that effort here. Not a single human now, maybe one in a small island somewhere, isn't using this technology. It's all around the globe. Happened here. Third thing, as we embrace that we are leaders and that all of the other money, I mean, just the NSF money and some of the other federal awards, we're talking about 125 million leveraged into the current Tech Hub grant. And we're already asking NSF, so the Science Foundation, for another 160 million. And being first means being first. All right, because you're already proving out these concepts, what we can do. So the third thing, and the reason really I'm here, is to talk about, make sure the state is clear and our policymakers. What do we need to do to bridge any of the gaps in building the ecosystem? All right, so we've got training and we've got access to college, and we know that it's not just PhDs, that it's a complete line of sets of experts, expertise, and training that need to be developed for quantum. In fact, it's every sector, but this one more importantly. And even though I want to highlight CNM's work for that boot camp, we ought to be having mid-school boot camps right now. We start as early as possible developing those lines. And the reason that opportunity scholarships, free college, and our apprenticeships work so well is they're designed to meet the requirements of the emerging research and of the business or economic ecosystem, not one or the other, both. That means every single person here today has to make sure that the state and our partners are clear about what that workforce training is and isn't, and what we need to do and where and how early. Third, what other incentives? Now, New Mexico's got really generous incentives, and I don't think that we talk about it so much, so I'm going to pick on the legislators a bit. There seems to be either we don't do enough LEDA, which is local economic development, and JTIP. I actually get sort of tripped up in Senate Finance, and I rarely get any money for it in the House. And yet, it is the single biggest driving factor, not the federal grants, because the initial workforce opportunities and tax incentives come from those packages, which allows businesses to do what? Locate and expand, locate and expand. And they are some of the most meaningful investments in the country. And if we want to lead here, and we do, and we will, these are things that need to be honed and improved so that the specific things for this industry, not unlike our advanced manufacturing tax credit, that's not LEDA, but not unlike those specific investments, we want them, we need them, we should apply them, including if there's specific incentives in JTIP, which is the job training where we pay for employees, that program as well. And then the last thing, not one of the three, ecosystem, make sure that we take credit for the innovation and the academic plus work that you're doing here today, but also making sure that we're improving New Mexicans' attitudes and understanding about how meaningful this work is, both in terms of national security, cybersecurity, healthcare, education, all of these nexuses, but making sure that the state is standing up every one of those. I want to conclude by two things. One, I know you know, but we have an incredible economic development secretary who knows everything there is to know about every small business in the state, every big, large business that's expanding in the state, and every vehicle to leverage every single dollar. I want to highlight our brand new secretary, Rob Black, and make sure that all of these ideas get right there. He's incredible. And I know that Secretary Rodriguez got highlighted and mentioned, but this is someone who can work with all of our academic institutions. I'm going to be a little mean to academic institutions. They're not so nimble. All right? They're not so anywhere in the country. But the relationship between our academic institutions, our universities, particularly UNM, and this secretary and everyone else are as good as they get for moving things along and highlighting and harnessing opportunities. And then the last thing, I just got back from New York. How many of you are familiar with the Clinton Global Initiative? All right, good. She would be very happy about that, so would the former president. One of the mainstays of that conference, right, is always national security. And what was embedded in that national security environment? Quantum. Two things to take away from that. New Mexico got to participate, not Colorado. I'm so mean. It's a race to the top. It's a race to the top. But they didn't know that New Mexico was part of that grant. So that's one. This is what I mean by we gotta do more on the PR side. The second thing was to take major CEOs that will not be the initial, right, ingenuity engines, that research side on quantum, but understand the entire changes around the globe and in the workforce. And on the AI side of that equation, both energy consumption and sort of the morality of regulatory, thoughtful effort, it's important to note that New Mexico was highlighted again because the two US senators who are working on AI in a regulatory format, who were leading that, are both from New Mexico. Senators Heinrich and Ben Ray Lujan. No small thing. Again, no small thing that we have two national security labs. No small thing. But we don't want to chill innovation, so that's too much regulation. And our New Mexico legislature was highlighted for, this is a bit unfair, not a deep dive. We don't have time yet to do a deep dive, 30-day session, and really trying to get our arms around the international and national framework. But I would encourage you today to also think about if there are state guardrails that we should be thinking about that don't interfere with the way in which we want to build an ecosystem. This is the time to start to talk about that. And I have no doubt that the leaders in this room are just the people, not just in the country, but you're the people around the globe that can do that right and do that effectively and make New Mexico, again, the international leader for transforming both national security innovation, and better services for humans all around the planet. Thank you for all that you do, and congratulations for your incredible recognition and work. Good luck today.